We're falling back down the deep dark YouTube rabbit hole today, blindly clicking on the lost secrets the world tried to hide, with our list of the top 5 scary lost tapes that will keep you up at night, part 2. The internet is vast, full of cat videos and makeup tutorials, but during any innocent deep dive, you're bound to wind up watching something you weren't quite prepared for, something that was lost, but found its way onto the web, haunting viewers and posing more questions than answers. Before we jump in, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to a few of your comments from a previous video. Alright, let's deep dive into the madness together. In at 5, Sleepwalking. This video begins at night. We're forced to watch on from a bedside camera as a body slowly begins to rise up and out of bed. It's a man. He approaches the camera, his movements fluid and his facial expression gleeful, which is arguably the most frightening part of the entire clip. He leaves the bedroom and heads downstairs, which we now witness from the living room camera. The man's bizarre movements continue. His right hand is raised in a rigid position, yet his gleeful smile never falters. He heads towards the back staircase and up. We wait on in anticipation to see what happens next. He emerges, descending the staircase and back into the living room. However, this time he's carrying something. A knife. He heads back into the bedroom, hovering over the bed for a few moments before seemingly waking up. He hesitates before climbing back into bed. Now I think it's safe to say the most terrifying part of this video is a thought of what could have been. What if he hadn't woken up? Would this video have ended differently? Who can say really? In at 4, Stalker. This video comes from the perspective of a nighttime stalker. He's filming outside of the house of a young woman, filming her through the windows of her home. He begins to utter concerning things, adding a warping effect for added creepiness. He says, "I found this one in the grocery store. I followed her home. It is a miraculous thing to be able to watch the ones you love undetected." He begins to get closer to the window before heading towards the back door, quietly entering her home. He wanders around briefly before we catch a glimpse of him in the mirror, wearing a frightening mask that almost resembles the pig character from Saw. Horrible. He explores the house more before heading to the front door, ringing the doorbell a few times to get the woman's attention. Then he hides, uttering, "A wonderful gift. May not be wrapped as you expect." She approaches the door, looking out in horror. She sees something burning outside. She moves out onto the porch, presumably calling the police. Shortly before the video ends, the man emerges, making animalistic growls and charging at the woman. This video is honestly purely terrifying because out of all the ones on our list, it feels the most credible and could potentially happen to anyone. No thank you. In at 3, Knock and Run. This video begins with a group of guys, one filming and another heading towards a house, dropping something on the porch, knocking and then running away. An old man opens the door, stepping on whatever it is the guy dropped, which we later learn is poop. Fun. He begins to charge at the guy who quickly runs away and then it cuts. Once again returning to the house, the guys opt to do the prank all over again, enjoying the outcome so much the first time. However, the result was different this time. Before the guy can leave the bag of poop, the old man opens the door, drags in the guy and closes it. The friends filming approach the house. The friend is nowhere to be seen. They make their way to the back of the house, but when they round the corner, the old man appears, shovel in tow, beating both men until the camera drops and the video ends. Yikes. Serves them right, I guess. Don't leave poop on people's doorstep. It's rude. In at 2, Wheelchair. This video is simple. An unknown person is filming an abandoned warehouse / factory / farmhouse. Honestly, I'm not too sure what this place is, but it's bloody creepy regardless. He slowly walks around, capturing all of the abandoned items on camera. His movements are almost frantic, which definitely adds to the frightening feeling. Not only that, but his aggressive zooms are what nightmares are made of. Suddenly, it's nighttime, and the man is outside, amongst the trees, still filming whatever it is he's looking for. Then, in the distance, we see a wheelchair. It's facing away and the man gets closer until we're flush against the chair. He begins to round it and that's when we see it. A woman in the chair, white hair visible, wearing a dirty hospital gown. We see nothing else, not even the front of her, just the edge of her body, enough for us to know that whoever she isn't friendly. And finally in at number 1, The Stranger. Now, this video made waves on the internet a few years back, and I can no longer count how many times I've seen it. All I know is, no matter how many times I watch, it just gets scarier and scarier. The video begins with someone zooming in on a dark, unmoving figure in the distance, before the camera cuts and we see a man doing some sort of parkour, if you want to call it that. He points at something and then the camera turns. The figure has emerged into the light now. He's bending down in an unnatural position, wearing a mask and watching on. Parkour man approaches him, masked man gets closer, moving more like a bird than a person. The men move away, but the masked man keeps coming. The camera then cuts. The two men are now outside of a building, once again pointing into the distance as though they see something. The masked man emerges, once again, this time standing up, dragging his feet and moving closer before charging at the men. We cut again. This time, we're inside, heading towards an elevator. They press the button, the doors open, and inside is the masked man. No thank you. Well, there we have it. What did you guys think of these lost tapes? Did they scare you? Were there any that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. Before we go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos, top 5 creepy clown sightings caught on camera. Colby Woodruff said, I don't care if you're joking or not, if you dress up as a clown and try to run up on me with a knife or some sort of weapon, that's a quick way to get your wig split. Right there with you, Colby. Lysol said, the clown trend will come back when It Chapter 2 is released. I know, and honestly that is my biggest fear. My first ever interview here for this job, I was accosted by a clown, but that's a story for another day. Ghost Girl said, wait, am I really the first comment? This has never happened to me before. Awesome. Congrats, Ghost Girl. You did good. Kevin C said, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I wouldn't mind if this girl chased me. I'll warn you now, Kevin, I run really fast. Really fast. If you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later.